the most incredible lineups of touring cars I think that it's been our pleasure to see is now gracing the pit road of the Sandown circuit. It's the Hang 10 400. There's Bob Morris there in the Ron Hodgson Motors Torana hatchback. For the Marlborough Holden dealer team, we'll be having Peter Brock and Johnny Harvey. For the Ford dealer team, Alan Moffat and Colin Bond. Every name you can think of.
Terry Wade, John Myers in a Dolomite. Then car number 66, which we haven't been able to identify yet.
Well, plenty of butterflies out there now, Adrian.
And one disappointed driver, incidentally, is Warwick Brown, Australia's Rothman Series champion and a runner in the Can-Am Series who came out here all the way to drive the second Brian Bird Ford car, but through mechanical problems yesterday wasn't able to qualify.
Then Edwards Bride in the Mazda, Peter Granger's BMW, the Goff Brothers Holden Gemini, Bob Holden, Lyndon Bevelar now Escort, Ian Shulman Mazda, Roger Cartwell Ian Mazda, Robert Duncan, Wade, Cannon Simon,
Just a few seconds to go now for the Hang 10 400 here at Sandown International Motor Racing Circuit. On the front row as the Prime Minister drops the flag, away they go. It's Peter Brock who gets away nicely, and Bob Morris who leads the field. Peter Brock back into third spot now as Alan Moffat squeezes him out as they come into Repco corner, but Brock gets back inside, and Brock is second as they come through, followed through by Alan Moffat. Then they come down with Gary Cook. It's John Harvey moving up into third position now, ahead of Alan Moffat. So it's Torana's 1, 2, 3, then the big Ford of Moffat's, and then the rest of the field streaming out of Holden corner.
Fantastic display of enormous horsepower and skill driving of these drivers already as they're on their opening lap.
Peter Brock moves to the lead now over Bob Morris as they pull up for the first time over the top at Rothmans in this tremendous race, which of course is over 129 laps. Down through the S's for the first time. Peter Brock leads Bob Morris, then Alan Moffat, who's moved himself up ahead of Harvey now into third position. Harvey is fourth as they sweep down through these long, shallow S's. And the next one then would have been Gary Cook, and he's followed very closely by Colin Bond. Two races in one here as we've got the two Holdens battling it out for the lead. And Bob Morris tucked in the slipstream. Alan Moffat holding off this tremendous attack by John Harvey. Brock keeps Morris out. Morris hops across to the inside. Not going to bumper motor racing with 128 laps to go. At 1 minute 13 seconds. 1 minute 13.3 seconds. 13.3 seconds for that opening second lap for Peter Brock. So Peter Brock is really starting to put the fast laps in right early in the piece. He's going to try and break up the opposition. Peter Brock is one of the masters of long-distance racing in Australia. He's the only driver to win the Big Three, Hang 10 400, the Hardy Ferodo at Bathurst, and of course the big 500-kilometre race at Phillip Island. And no other driver has ever been able to equal that. He did that 3 years ago in the Torana, and now he's hoping to repeat it again. A little bit of smoke out of the back of Colin Bond's car there as he's being chased by Alan Grice. Grice pushing him very, very hard as they run in 5th and 6th positions at the moment. A great heap of motor cars led by Garth Wixton behind them as they sweep down, and there's Grice coming up on the inside and bouncing over the concrete to try and see if he can catch the leaders or at least pass Colin Bond. The big Ford Falcons very easily identified in white there, two big blue stripes across them. There's a move now as Dick Johnson moves out on Garth Wixton, and Wayne Nagus at the back, and there's Gary Rogers coming through on the inside, and they touch as they come through, but Gary Rogers sweeps underneath and is able to get through, and Wayne Nagus on his right-hand side just trying to squeeze him out too. But it's Brian Bird and the big Ford. There's the two cars of the Phillips team coming in very closely and almost put each other out of the race at Holden corner. And in car number 12, we have Gary Rogers.
Gary Rogers got himself a bit of a don't argue there too as he came into Holden corner, leading the other two cars, but they both carved him up and left him gasping for breath behind.
They're very quick down through those S's. It's the first time I've seen Peter Brock bounce his wheels over the inside, and look at Alan Grice with one wheel about 6 to 8 inches in the air as he threw it down through the S's, chasing after Colin Bond. And he knows he's got to keep going because right behind him is that big blue Ford from Queensland with Dick Johnson at the wheel.
And Johnson, one of the most forceful drivers in Australia. If he gets himself any kind of a chance to get through, he'll take it.
It's like a 10-lap sprint at the moment, as these drivers are really pushing their cars almost to the limit. Down the long straight they come in front of the grandstand. And there's, they're lapping some of the slower cars already, and there's Harvey pulling out again, Gricey at least, pulling out on Colin Bond, and Grice moves up into 5th position, ahead of Colin Bond, now in 6th spot. So Colin Bond has to look at the back of Alan Grice's Torana as they sweep up pit straight towards Holden Corner. Oh, and there's Gary Rogers, a big spin at Repco Corner, and not a very nice place to be either. He's in a very dangerous position, right on the apex of the corner, and the crash crews out there, the marshals, all ready with him, going to try and help him to do a U-turn to get back into the race again. Bad luck for him. He was well up in the race there, but that will put him right back out of contention for the present time.
He hit the curb too, and it's a wonder that he hasn't punctured a tyre or bent a wheel. Oh, he's lost the exhaust pipe. The part of the exhaust system has come adrift from Gary Rogers' car. Right, Colin Bond backing up his teammate Alan Moffat. He's back there in 6th place at the present time, while the battle rages on out in front with Peter Brock and Bob Morris. But Colin Bond, a very, very heady driver. He's not at all concerned that he's not right up there mixing it with the very leading cars, because it's a long, long way to go and anything can happen. Peter Brock giving a wave there, of course, to signal to a car in front that he's aiming on coming through. A little bit hard sometimes for the drivers of the slower cars to tell just how fast a car is coming up behind them or who it might be. So a bit of a wave from the overtaking drivers is quite a good signal.
John Harvey is doing very well. I think it's the best run we've seen from John. Well, not quite the best for this year, because he was going very well at one of the earlier races at Oran Park this year before he ran out of petrol, which was a very unfortunate thing for him, and that didn't deter him. He got some petrol, got back into the car, and then won the race.
That's right.
But he's up there in 3rd position, and that's judging from the touring car rounds, his best position this year. He's doing extremely well as a backup to Peter Brock, who's out in front, and although he's tossing it a little bit wide on the corners, he's nevertheless keeping Bob Morris in sight, and of course providing a buffer between the leading two Toranas. And oh, there's bad luck for one of the Ryan Wood Ford cars. There's number 69, which of course would be Rod Stevens.
Yep. And
that's very bad luck for him. He's hit the Armco fencing fairly badly. It looks as though he's spun coming out of Repco Corner at this stage, and he's right over against the fence. And of course the car will have to be moved, because it's not a good spot. There's a locking brake from Gary Cook in car number 11, the Torana. And in fact, it's more than a locking brake. That smoke is coming from underneath the car, and that's an ominous sign that it looks as though Gary Cook's race has run. And from 3rd position on the grid, he's now going to pull up and watch it from the sidelines.
Well, at 10 laps with 12 minutes and 27 seconds of racing gone, we have Brock in 1st place, Bob Morris in 2nd place, and John Harvey in 3rd place, all in Toranas, followed by Alan Moffat, the first of the Fords, Alan Grice, and of course Moffat's teammate Colin Bond in 6th place. Back to you, Adrian Ryan.
And the BMW coming down there, moving through, followed by Keogh in one of the big Fords, and then the Taylor Kennedy car. And here with Bob Morris diving out of that slipstream to try and take over from Peter Brock at Repco Corner. But Peter Brock in the Marlborough car, .05. He uses the number 05, of course, because of his association with the Road Safety and Traffic Authority in Victoria, which uses the slogan "Turn off before .05", indicating the amount of blood alcohol level that you're allowed in Victoria before you can be fined. And Peter Brock has been a great performer for the Road Safety and Traffic Authority, lecturing to young drivers all over Victoria on the evils of drink and the way to drive properly. And he's being hounded, and that's about the only word you can say, is really hounded by Bob Morris, who is very clean down through the S's, not ragged at all. Bob Morris, the car handling beautifully on its lower profile tyres. He uses a slightly lower profile tyre than Peter Brock's car, and he says that this gives him a great advantage. And he has, if we can get a very close-up view, perhaps at Holden Corner, he has a very interesting development on the outside of the wheels. He has a fiberglass scoop built onto the outside of the wheels, and this actually extracts the air from the brakes and helps to cool them down. So we may try and see if we can get a very close-up in view as he goes around on the outside, then right down on the inside. He's pushing Peter Brock as hard as he can go. Comes up on the inside now, and he's really going to try and outbreak Brock, but there's no way. Yes, he does. He goes straight through on the inside.
Well,
a desperate move, but he's made it. He's got through onto the inside, and Morris now leads the race for the second time because he led very briefly at the start, and now it's Peter Brock's turn. Peter Brock seems to easily pull out of the slipstream, and it looks as though Brock just has that edge in power, and Bob Morris is relegated back to second spot once more.
What an incredible carve-up going on at this early stage in the race. They've only done about 15 or 16 laps, and here they are, these two giants of touring cars out in front there, absolutely carving each other to bits as though there are only a couple of laps to go. But there's Moffat in car number 1. The first appearance of the new Cobras, just developed by the Ford Motor Company, and they're the Bathurst car for 1978. They're not really giving too much of a threat to the Toranas today, but this is what happened last year. So we'll see what happens. There's the rundown. Brock, Morris, Harvey, Moffat and Grice. Colin Bond is back behind Alan Grice. But look at the beautiful sleek lines of that Falcon Cobra in the hands of Alan Moffat. He doesn't look to me as though he's trying terribly hard, do you think, Adrian?
Not really. There seems to be just a whisper of smoke out of the back of the car. It could be just, they do have this problem occasionally where they seem to get a slight amount of oil that comes out under the car, and it just burns off on the exhausts or the other very hot parts underneath the car. But certainly he's not pushing it very, very hard, I wouldn't think. It looks to me as though they can lap at that sort of speed all day, but then the way Peter Brock's going, he just may be able to lap at 1:13 all day, and if he can do that, the Hang 10 400 is his.
It might be too, right? Well, we saw that long shot up the straight, and we saw Moffat, we saw Alan Grice pull out of the line to overtake a slower car, and then behind him was Colin Bond. One way further back, such runners as Garth Wixton, Wayne Negus, Dick Johnson. It'd be a good one to have a look at too. Dick Johnson in car 17, the Brian Bird Falcon, because he's a hard charger all the way down from Brisbane.
A very well prepared car too, Max.
Certainly is.
There's Bob Morris in the pits, and that's certainly bad luck, very, very bad luck for the Hodgson team.
Doesn't look too good for the Rod Hodgson organisation there now with that car pulling into the pits. That's at this early stage in the race. It may be not quite so disastrous as long as they're not there for too long. But normally, if you make a pit stop in the race, you can kiss your chances goodbye. Oh, Colin Bond, he's got a flat and he's in plenty of trouble because he's a long way from home. And he's got to get right back to the pits to change that tyre. That's not going to be a very pleasant run for Colin Bond. Coming round through the S's over onto the causeway now. There's still plenty of power being put on the ground by Colin Bond. If it was a front wheel, it wouldn't be quite as bad because he could at least give it the gun and keep the front of the car up. But being a back one and the outside back one too, then that tyre absolutely shredding. He's getting home on the rim. A rim and a prayer for Colin Bond. Now this is going to be very, very tricky. We'll stay on this one and see this all of this action winding his way down into the pit access road, getting to his crew. He's got to brake, he's got to get round the corner, tearing the track apart probably with that rim, and you're looking at $300 worth of alloy wheel there, I might add. But he's got to get back to the pits, and he went down that straight pretty smartly, I think.
He wasn't backing off as much as I thought he should be, but still, I suppose time is the essence of the contract. He has to get in and get fixed quickly. It looks as though he's in trouble getting into his pit now at the moment. Very, very crowded area here at Sandown. Not a lot of space between the pit fence and the pits proper. But he's in position. Now we'll see some quick pit work as they really start to work. And look at the way that wheel has been mangled. It's almost just been sheared away completely. There is no rim on the outside at all. There's a great battle there amongst the under 2 litre and under 3 litre cars as Mazdas and Escorts battle it out, coming up along this long back straight. And theoretically now we should have seen Alan Moffat passing them, but Alan Moffat hasn't caught them, so it could be that he's in real trouble at the present time. John Duncan leading that bunch in his RX3, and there's Moffat right in amongst them now as he comes down. I would have thought that he would have passed them well and truly by this. Greville Arnell in the Escort just ahead and just being passed now by Alan Moffat. and Bob Morris weaving his way in behind them too. So Bob Morris is back in the race and certainly trying his hardest, bouncing off those concrete curbings to see if he can get through.
Right, we'll get
an indicator there on the little RX3 to tell the drivers to go through on that side, and certainly Moffat is in trouble because look at them, they're just racing past him, and I think he may have gear problems because he's just as quick through the S's as ever, but he just seems to die when he comes down the straight. He just seems to, it looks as though he gets up to about second or third gear and then just holds it there.
Yeah, well, it's either that or he's just not pulling any revs. He changed down there. It looked as though he was going from top back to third there. It looks as though the motor just won't rev. Yeah.
Here he comes now. He seems to be going all right. Then all of a sudden he slows down and everybody goes past him.
Being overtaken by that Mazda there.
Well, it's not a good day for the Moffat Ford dealer team with Colin Bond having had a pit stop to replace a tyre, and it's up to Colin Bond, I think, now to uphold the honour of the blue and white, as Moffat is evidently in serious trouble. And there's Alan Grice with smoke coming from the back of the car too, so it looks as though Alan Grice might be in real trouble. Grice coming down, slowing as he comes down the straight past the grandstand. He's not going into the pits. He continues on around Repco Corner and probably is unaware of the problem at this stage, but certainly the car is throwing a lot of smoke on the overrun. He's pointing to his pits, pointed to the pits as he went past, so it looks as though he may do one more lap and then come in.
Well, that early pace that we were all worried about is certainly taking its toll now, although we haven't heard anything about Peter Brock. He seems to be still going along, full of running and very healthy. Moffat's heading for the pits.
I realise now, of course, the reason Moffat didn't come in before Max is because the pits were already full, perhaps, with Colin Bond and the other drivers. There were quite a lot of cars in the pits at that time, although Bond had already gone out before this last lap.
Plenty of others there, a very, very crowded pit area at the present time. The mechanical crews are getting their opportunity to do some work, get involved very much in the race. Warren Cullen and the Johnny Walker Pioneer Torana being pushed into retirement, I would think. I don't see a helmet on the driver there.
And now it's up to Paul Harrington, who has an update on positions and times.
Well, with all the chaos of a long-distance race, the Fords and Holdens are both running into trouble. Here's Dick Johnson coming up the straight now in third place, but very likely to be making a pit stop. But with 43 minutes and 43 seconds completed of this race, Peter Brock is leading from John Harvey, with Dick Johnson there in third place, followed by Murray Carter, with Jack Brabham up to fifth, and Jim Keogh in sixth. In the class up to 3,000cc, Laurie Nelson has taken over the lead from Jim Langpeach in his Ford Capri, with Bill Evans in the Brian Wood Ford Escort leading the 2,000cc class. Back to you, Adrian.
Well, Charlie O'Brien was sitting here thinking that perhaps he should go down to the pits and crank up his Torana, even if it is down on power, that he just might get a place in this race, because they're just dropping out like flies at the moment, and the mortality rate is very high, but all full marks at this stage to John Shepherd and his Marlborough Holden dealer team, because the Holdens up front there, the red and white cars of Peter Brock and John Harvey, are just running like proverbial clockwork, round and round and round, and the only Ford that seems to be able to keep anywhere near them is this one of Colin Bond's. Oh, and here's another one with a tyre gone. It's the Lees and Cutchy car, Ford Escort, and it looks as though he's had a little bit of an altercation with something. The front of the car looks a little bit bent, and of course that right-hand front tyre gone completely. So 42, Ian Lees, Ian Chilman actually, Ian Lees driving the car, and he and Ray Cutchy will drive it. Sorry, it's a Capri, not an Escort, yes.
That square headlights are a bit tricky.
Yes, I know. Murray Carter now in the pits for the Brian Wood Ford team in his Falcon, and Murray was in sixth position, so it's certainly bad luck for him. There's the tyre about to go by the look of it.
Well, Murray actually was in fourth position, Adrian. This now puts Jack Brabham up into third.
The pits, there's a blow for the Ford fans. Colin Bond taking car number 2 in there. We'll see very quickly if we can find out what the problem is. But Barry Seaton has moved himself up into 5th place in that Amco Torana. There's Jack Brabham in the Kudota tractor. Torana, car number 8 that he will drive, as Adrian mentioned, with Brian Muir in the Hardy Ferodo in 3 weeks' time. What a sterling performance Jack Brabham's putting in. The old veteran, well, not so much old, what's 51 years of age these days? 52, is it?
So Betty told me the other day.
A mere boy. And a magnificent run. Bobby Morris has gone into the pits. There he is, sitting there, the Morris Fitzpatrick Ron Hodgson car. And what a frustrating race this is for poor old Bob Morris. Pretty frustrating for a lot of other drivers too.
I was just going to ask Charlie O'Brien that perhaps Charlie might be able to tell us when would we expect to see Peter Brock coming into the pit? When would you have scheduled a pit stop, for instance, for yourself, Charlie?
Adrian, we were looking at about 70 to 75 laps, so you've got to basically do more than 65 halfway distance because the tank size was 28 gallons. But it will be very interesting to see what sort of lap times Peter Brock's doing to see just how hard he is pushing the car.
Yes, well, Paul Harrington should be able to get us that information fairly soon. Whoa, he's almost in trouble that time. I don't think I've seen Peter Brock so far out of line for a long time. It must be oil on the circuit because Peter just doesn't do that sort of thing. He doesn't, that's not his style of driving.
Didn't seem to worry him too much though. He just chased it.
Here it comes again. So you'll watch now, just see if we can see a smudge of oil on the circuit at all. There he goes, then all of a sudden he really whips those wheels. You can see the front wheels turning as he gets that car very crossed up.
Oh, doesn't he ever?
Colin Bond having a bit of difficulty there getting through underneath Dunlop Bridge with a couple of the slower cars, one of them being Williamson, and it's a tremendous amount of traffic as they come down into Repco Corner. And as we watch them go up the straight, you can see that there's that traffic. Boy, oh boy, the little cars and big cars dodging and weaving all over the place. And somebody's into the fence.
I thought somebody was heading for disaster there. Laurie Nelson, the class leader.
Yes.
Oh, he's not going to be very pleased about that.
I didn't think so. He's going to have difficulty getting around here too. No, he's right.
Give it a footful and break the tail away and spin it around. But,
a little bit of body damage.
Yeah, got himself nudged there by a guy who was going just that little bit too hard, looking for either looking for an opening or an out-braking manoeuvre.
He was very lucky where he did spin because he spun right alongside the car of Keogh's, which is still in a very dangerous position on the outside of Holden Corner, and he could have sustained a lot more damage to the car had he hit Keogh's car a little bit harder.
Very lucky escape for Laurie Nelson there. I would think he would still retain his lead in the class. We'll confirm that shortly with Paul Harrington. He'll be able to tell us, and let's hope that he is able to hold that class lead because that incident was probably no fault of his own.
And here's Jack Brabham into the pits. It's unlikely that this would be a scheduled stop because with only 56 laps completed, I would not expect Jack Brabham to be coming in for a scheduled stop.
Well, this, of course, puts Wayne Negus, car number 21, up into third position. We've had a few people sitting in that unlucky third.
Wayne Negus from Western Australia has driven, of course, for the Holden dealer team on occasions, is driving now for the Roadways team from Tasmania. And the car's prepared by Gowan and Hindhoff, the combination that prepared the car, the Torana car, which Peter Brock won the Grand Slam 2 years ago in Sandown, the Bathurst and Phillip Island races.
Right, let's watch the scheduled pit stop, which I'm sure it is, for Peter Brock. Let's see that Holden dealer team crew swing into action. The race leader, Peter Brock. We'll get the clock on him, see how long he takes, and then we'll check that time out with various other people on their scheduled stops later. Kerry Luckins can get into position and have a word with Peter Brock while the action's going on. It won't be easy. See how the race leader sees his position at this stage.
Jack Brabham just moving out of the pits now and back into the race. Still a little bit of steam coming out from under the bonnet and someone giving the message. It's John Harvey saying he wants to come in next. So Harvey into the lead, but points into the pits, which could mean that he wants to come in next. I hope they were able to tell him that Brock was there, because I think it might get a little crowded if Harvey comes around the next time.
And the latest report from Box Hill Hospital, Springvale Hospital, would be that Alan Hamilton, who crashed in the Australian Grand Prix, has some serious leg injuries, but otherwise is quite okay. No head injuries or anything of that nature, which was suspected early after that horrendous crash where he smashed his Lola into the ridge at Dunlop Corner. Harvey going into the pits. So
well, after Peter Brock's pit stop, Johnny Harvey took over the lead, but now that Harvey's in the pits, as soon as Brock, who has now gone out on the track again, comes back around, he will resume his race lead. Well, it's all activity in the pit there for the Marlborough Holden dealer team. Team leader John Shepherd leaning over to talk to Harvey, who wants a drink. They're busy, they're working hard, but there is no sign of fluster or panic or chaos or whatever. It's all proceeding very smoothly according to plan.
Oh, there's a tyre gone completely.
Poor old Laurie Nelson, he's not having any fun at all. He got that clout in the tail there at Holden Corner.
The whole suspension's on the ground too, and having all sorts of trouble.
And now he's lost a tyre. He's got to struggle into the pits. Looks like the left one's flat too, is it? No, that one's okay. The car was laying right over. Well, if this was a betting sport, I'd say that the Holden dealer team Toranas are going to go out the shortest price favourites of all time for next month's Hardy for Odo 1000. They're really giving us Field a galloping and survival exhibition.
You'd have to give Colin Bond the A for effort.
Yes.
Prize, I think, for this particular race.
Well, we've just heard Adrian de Gross is 3 laps behind, so although laying third, he's 3 laps behind Brock and Harvey.
In 4th place behind Nagus and Harvey, Nagus and then Grice, with Carter in 5th position. There's another spin, car number 26, which is John Latham. Co-driver Brian Reid. I think it might be Brian Reid who's driving actually. Oh, and there's another one. 62's gone in. That's Jeffrey Wade in the little Alfa Romeo. And I think our director's comment that he ran out of room might be pretty right, because there just wasn't anywhere else to go except to sort of go up and park beside the stalled car of Keogh's.
As we switched to that shot, there was Barry Seaton sorting himself out too. And just pulling away, he'd obviously had to brake to a sudden stop to avoid the spinning Latham.
There's not a lot of room at that corner at the best of times.
There's another marathon drive coming up to get back to the pits. Now this is the problem; they're just not able to steer with the punctured tyre, and this makes it quite a drama to try and get back to the pits. That's why they have to get on the grass to keep as much rubber still remaining on what's left of the tyre to get back there.
And there's the race leader, Peter Brock, virtually from start to finish, doing it easily, running away without any possible drama at all. Got the car once sideways down at Dandenong Road, had it completely under control and has not put a foot wrong, with 40 laps to go. 129 lap race, 400 kilometres. 40 laps to go with Cannon in one of the 2-litre Escorts. Car number 77 coming into the pits, David Cannon. Smoke, and there's another big geezer. That's Jack Brabham, and did we say had overheating problems? They've taken the cap off, and it's like a New Zealand geezer there.
Well, there's a strange line approaching Repco Corner. That's not the normal line by any means.
No, that's Wayne Negus, and it looks as if he's gone off well before Repco Corner. He's up on the grass now in front of the grandstand, as you can see. Very unusual to see a car end up there.
Wayne Negus was lying in 4th place at the time he retired there, Grice having lapped him. But overall the positions at 90 laps with lap times in the 1:15 bracket, and with 1 hour 55 minutes of racing completed, Peter Brock had now got a lap in hand over his teammate John Harvey. Then there's a 2-lap gap back to the 3rd place car of Alan Grice, with Bo Seaton in 4th place.
Good lose.
John Latham there in Repco with a big one. But back onto the grass, having all sorts of trouble getting back onto the track, slows down a little and gets back on. So John Latham having a big lose there at Repco.
It's about, 25 laps to go. There's Barry Seaton in the Amco McGrath Holden Torana. A9X, car number 33, as I mentioned earlier, the winner of the Dulux Refinishing Award that was made this year to cars for their appearance, their outside appearance, and Barry Seaton's car, out of 20 or 30 entrants, was adjudged by the Dulux people, or by a team of motoring riders actually on behalf of Dulux, as the most immaculate car in racing in Australia.
So out of the 50 cars that started, we only had 30 left some time ago, and even then some have probably dropped out, as with the Australian Grand Prix, a real war of attrition. And there's Jim Lang-Peach in 5th position, a 3-litre car, has worked his way up to not only lead the 3-litre class, but has gone into 5th overall position. He'd be very, very pleased with himself. A good run for Bathurst.
10 laps to go.
Both the Holden dealer team cars passing Jack Brabham, who's back in the race. We saw him overheat several times. The last time with a great gusher of water coming out. There he is. He's coming onto camera there behind the two dealer team cars. But he's back out on the track. Got up to 3rd position, Jack, but has dropped right back with overheating problems.
Bob, it certainly looks good. Always looks good, a 1-2 finish.
Yes, it does. And as I said, there'd be Torana fans in that stand leaping up and down every time they go past.
Barry Seaton, our 3rd place holder at the present time. Right, news from race control is that Alan Grice at the present time is only 7 seconds behind Barry Seaton, so a big dice for that 3rd place is shaping up between Barry Seaton in car 33 and Alan Grice in car 6. 7 laps to go, 7 seconds the difference, and Alan Grice driving like fury. We wonder now whether Barry Seaton's pit crew is aware of this and whether they've told him. And if, when he knows, he'll be able to hold off the challenge by the resolute Alan Grice. Let's watch them and see. But Gricey is sure pouring it on. He knows, that's for sure. Oh, he's overhauling him hand over fist.
He's picking him up right on the brakes.
Oh, yes. Seaton's car doesn't seem to have the stick out of the corner there either.
One of Alan Grice's main things is good brakes, and Frank Gardner is constantly working on the brake department on the Torana, making him better than anybody else is around, which I think at the moment you can see this.
Seaton doesn't. Oh, no, that's Lang-Peach. I think Barry might have got the message that Gricey can take a place off him. What was the difference in the lap times in practice? Let's look at our grid sheet here. Alan Grice's best time was a 13.2. Barry Seaton's was a where is he? 33. Barry Seaton, a 14.9. So there's quite a difference there. And Gricey goes past, pulls out of the slipstream up the back straight, pulls alongside and goes flying past his Torana adversary. So Alan Grice immediately made himself another $1,000. If he finishes, of course, it's still 3 laps to go.
Oh,
very close.
Sideways there.
I nearly said that in time, didn't I? Well, he managed to squeeze his way through. Bad luck for the Honda there. Come on, Mel, back you come. And there's the leaders. There, while we've been watching the other pair having their little duel, the leaders. And somebody taking
Alan Grice is off.
Alan Grice has gone. What's he done? What's he done? He's in plenty of trouble. Right off the
I think he actually just slipped off the circuit there and couldn't get back on because of the drain there.
That's right. Oh, gee, he had his heart in his mouth, I'll bet.
And lost the $1,000.
Did Seaton slide through there? No.
Yes, he did.
Did he? Is he there? Yes, there he is, right. Seaton managed to get through. There's Jansen got through too. Lang-Peach and Alan Grice. Well, he's got to do it over again. There's only a couple of laps remaining. So this last 1.5 laps could be pretty interesting.
Interesting to note, Max, that Peter Brock's time is 1:17, which is 6 seconds off his
best practice lap.
Yeah.
That's right. Right, 1 lap to go. The last lap of this very, very grueling and demanding. Oh, Barry Seaton, no, don't take Harvey off too. And Gricey goes through. How the fortunes can change in the last moments, the dying moments of a race. Barry Seaton, a little nudge there in the tail, and now Alan Grice is getting all desperate by the look of it and rushing up deep under brakes. If he clips Brocky in the tail and puts him out, I reckon half the grandstand will descend on him and cut his throat. What a finish. Anything can happen.
Look, he's waving Jansen through. He wants the 1-2, Brock.
Yes, my word.
He doesn't want Jansen in there. He wants Harvey up beside him so he can do a 1-2 over the line.
Well, he's going to have to slow down, I think, because Harvey's not going to get past that Capri and Jansen as well. Grice is there too. Well, how the fortunes change.
Here comes Harvey.
A few hundred metres to go. He's going to slow. Brocky's going to have to slow down and let Jansen go past. No, Harvey's rounding up Jansen on the outside. Jansen's woken up by the look of it. And here comes the Marlborough Holden dealer team. 1-2 finish at the end of the Hang 10 400 for 1978. What a result. For a final report on the unofficial placings at this stage, Paul Harrington.
44 minutes and 56 seconds of racing, and it's Brock and Harvey leading this at a 1-2 for Marlborough Holden dealer team from Grice and Seaton, with Jim Lang Peach winning the 3-litre class and Peter Williamson in the little Toyota Celica winning the 2-litre class.